Welcome, it's the Morning Breeze. I'm Simon Kagwanjala, and oh, what a joy that some of you are watching us on MTN TV by Afro Mobile. Yeah, it's time for you not to miss anything or to choose what to watch. Just download it on Google Play or iOS, and you will definitely never miss any conversation. It's time for the topical discussion, and we bring you this morning one of the ministers who never misses the eye of the media, having been formerly Minister for ICT, but now Minister for Health. Well, he started a bit of controversy here and there in his methods of work. First, he visited Colonel Besigye, and this in a way caused a huge storm. Then, he's also been going around the country doing on-spot visits in hospitals deep in the night. Of course, some people have interpreted it as despair, that he's desperate for optics. Well, he will be telling us. There's also a lingering conversation on interns, medical interns. Having been quite outspoken during his early days as a medical intern, advocating for the rights, he's now at the center of a controversy on whether interns should be paid their worth or not. Honorable Chris Baryomunsi, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, good to have you, and a very good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Simon. Good morning, viewers. I am happy to be back here.
Yes.
In the Morning Breeze.
How are you fitting into the ministry?
Well, I think I'm fitting in well, because it's not my first time to be there. Actually, my first appointment as a minister was in Harris, as a Minister of State for Harris, in charge of general duties. But I was there briefly for slightly more than a year. And then toured the other ministries, so I am back. I am back in the ministry, and we're trying to do our best to streamline the delivery of health care in this country.
Okay, you got in at a time where the Ebola was headlining, and now there is the issue of medical interns, but we'll get into that later.
Yes.
The question remains, how uncharitable was it for a minister who is a medical doctor, very conversant with ethics, visiting a patient who didn't want you to see him? That's Besigye.
Has Besigye said that? Well, I know my visit raised some sort of storm, especially after his wife's tweet saying I was uninvited. I don't think patients invite visitors. Well, Dr. Besigye has been serving in prison for some time, and if you recall, I one time visited him in Ruzira, and again there was an uproar from those who, I don't want to say idlers, but there are those who always interpret their own way things which happen. That was the time when he had gone on a hunger strike, and I actually went and told him, please, you eat your food. And shortly after, actually, he resumed his business.
You as who?
Me as I was a Minister of ICT and National Guidance then. But you know also Dr. Besigye comes from my own home area. Actually, our homes are adjacent to each other. They are no adjacent hills. I am on the other side of Chinchizi, in this side of Rukunjiri. But he's a Ugandan, and he belongs to all of us. And I had a feeling for him because he was in the prison, so I visited him. So this time around, we all know that he collapsed in court, and he was admitted in Mulago hospital. I told the people in Rukunjiri the other day that my understanding of my brief as a Minister of Health is that I am in charge of the health of all Ugandans, irrespective of your political beliefs. I am not a Minister of Health for NRM people only. I am a Minister of Health I am supposed to ensure that every Ugandan is healthy. So I chose on my own to pay a visit to Mulago Hospital and check on him. And indeed, I accessed him in his hospital room.
Forcefully?
No.
The wife says you were uninvited.
No, she likes politics. Of course, everything she wants to take it political. That's her own right. But to visit a patient, you do not need an invitation.
Really?
Yes, you do not need an invitation. Secondly, I am a minister of health.
Are you alive to the ethics, medical ethics?
Not only alive, but I practiced medicine. I passed medical ethics as a subject. There was nothing unethical about it. A minister of health visiting a patient, how unethical is it? And of course, I went
uninvited.
So you expected me to get an invitation letter that come and visit? I have a right, and more so as a minister of health, to visit any patient in Uganda, even if it was who. So my visit was basically to check. In any case, even he was in Mulago hospital, and I have to ensure that he gets the best treatment. And I was getting regular briefs about his condition in the hospital. So there are those who prefer to read a lot of politics into some of these, but it was an innocent visit as a brother. You see, the problem is that the people have made Ugandan politics extremely toxic. There are those who argue that because I am NRM, I should not visit somebody who is opposition. Why? He's a Ugandan. Dr. Besigye is a Ugandan, and he belongs to all of us, by the way. It's like the other day I was officiating at the son of Honorable Segona has published a book, a 16-year-old young man, and he invited me as a chief guest. And there were some people raising eyebrows. How can a government minister preside over a function of a son of a prominent opposition? I think we should abandon that kind of politics. Let me give you another example. The other day when the Parliament paying tribute to the late Besigye, I chose to take one of his children. I actually pays for Besigye as a child. But interestingly, when I was going to Massa to be part of the team sending him off, I was advised that the foot soldiers will lynch you if they see you at his funeral. I don't know whether those who wanted to lynch me are doing anything to support the family of Besigye. So, me, I am not that part of politics. Okay. That because I am NRM, a government minister, I cannot sympathize with
I want you to look at it at the moral side.
Yes.
The first time you visited Besigye, it caused an arrow. You went...
And justified in my view.
Okay, in your view.
Yes.
I thought you had learned from the past.
No.
You went and it caused a big storm. Here you are back. The family says they are very uncomfortable with your visits.
No.
And after you visit, Besigye disappears. Where is it?
By the way, when you say the family, it depends on who. Like the caretakers who were looking after Besigye in Mulago. I had an engagement, a discussion with them. And they were very happy with my visit. It's only Honorable Winnie Byanyima who chose to politicize the visit. But it's not true that the family is unhappy. Even in Ruzira, when I visited him, I found when he was asking the prison authorities to be allowed to go to a clinic of his choice. And the authorities were saying, no, you must utilize the government facilities. It is me who broke that argument and said, no, Dr. Besigye is not a convict. He's just on remand. He should be free to access a health facility of his choice. And his doctors were there. And I persuaded the prison authorities. And I actually told them I would not leave Ruzira until when he has gone to a medical facility of his choice. And that's how he went. So it is not true that my visits are in bad faith. They add value. Now, the issue of Mulago, my visit had nothing to do with his being discharged, because I was not the doctor attending to him. I saw people writing that I went there to direct or instruct the Mulago hospital to discharge him. Far from the truth. Actually, I tweeted saying that is an insult to the consultant doctors who were looking after him. When Dr. Besigye collapsed in court, he was rushed to Mulago. He actually first got admitted in the ICU, intensive care unit. He treated him, stabilized him, and then transferred him to the VVIP room in Mulago, where he received the best care. So it is a coincidence that when I visited, I think the doctors were also in the process of discharging him. and I was not privy to that information.
Okay.
So why would I want him discharged?
You're
for
concerned
what?
about Besigye.
And you are saying, where is he? Of course, he went to Mulago as a prisoner. So definitely, people will say, why is he going to his home? That's a court process. So after discharge, definitely he had to be taken back to Ruzira. For him to leave Ruzira to go to his home is when he gets bail, and that's the work of the judiciary, the judge. Not me. I cannot order that he should just go home.
Okay.
I can advise, but I cannot
If
order.
you're truly concerned about Besigye,
Yes.
do his whereabouts worry you? After your visit, Besigye was taken out of Ruzira, and nobody knows where he is at the moment.
I am not sure. I have not checked, but I expect him to be in Ruzira because he left Ruzira going to court. He gets a medical challenge in court. He is hospitalized, and the best of my knowledge, the doctors in Mulago officially discharged him because Mulago was not his place of abode that he would remain there. He was there for treatment. And the opinion of the doctors, he had recovered and they discharged him. So I expect him to be back in Ruzira. And maybe he will appear in the court and the court can process his bail. If you asked me whether should he be given bail, I would say yes, why not? But that's not my decision to give him bail. But if you are saying he's not in Ruzira, to that extent I do not know if he has left Ruzira, but I expect him to be in Ruzira prison.
In what state was Besigye when you visited?
Well, when I visited, he had, for someone who had collapsed and was taken to ICU, he had greatly improved. And when I asked, he was able to take his meals, but of course he was weak. He was still weak. When you spoke to him, he understood, but he chose to respond by gesturing. By gesturing. They could ask him, how are you feeling? He would say, he would give you an impression that he's feeling better. Ask him, are you taking your medicines? He says, yes. And when I said, I wish you quick recovery, he smiled and he appreciated. So contrary to what you are saying, that Dr. Besigye was not happy with my visit, at least the gestures he showed, he had no issue with that one. It's only those who want to do politics and politics.
Yeah, but you imagine the wife's account. The wife says, your visit was very uncharitable.
How? Of course, she just wanted a debate, and I do these visits not necessarily to please anybody. No.
You imposed yourself on Besigye again.
Well, people can say all sorts of things. I am used to those kind of insults. But for me, to visit somebody, a high-profile person like Besigye in a hospital, my heart is very clear. And I find no problem at all. You don't even know the kind of conversations we hold after that kind of visit with the authorities that be. You don't know. Not everything has to be on camera. So, when Byanyima may misread those visits, that's our own issue. But I know the other members of the family, especially those who attended to him regularly, had no issue with my visit.
Why are your visits always misconstrued as ill-born?
By when Byanyima
close relatives. Because you don't discount Byanyima. She's the wife.
No, Byanyima is a politician. So she would want to use every opportunity to politicize some of these issues. But people should not read much into them. And they are in good faith. So why should visiting a patient
against the will of the patient?
Which will? No.
Ethically speaking.
Dr. Besigye has never complained that I visited him. Has he? He has not. It is largely his wife. That one is just playing politics.
The wife officially is a caretaker to the husband.
So?
The wife says, you were uninvited and unwelcome.
Unwelcome. I was not visiting her. I was visiting Dr. Besigye. And Dr. Besigye, by the way, doesn't belong to his wife alone. He belongs to all of us. So you cannot claim that he's your own, and therefore you should choose who visits him and who doesn't. No, you don't. And more so, a minister of health checking on a patient who is receiving health care in the country where I'm a minister. There's nothing wrong with that one.
No, but when people read sinister motives in your visit,
okay,
don't you
that's why I'm here to explain.
Okay, don't you think it's wise for you to stay off?
No.
Would you dare visit Besigye again after the backlash?
Absolutely. I walk with my head high. I would visit him, especially if my visit can add value to his condition.
I thought it's made it more complex because now the family is linking Besigye's disappearance on Baryomunsi.
Disappearance from where?
From hospital.
No, it's not a disappearance. You see, first of all, to be fair, did you expect Dr. Besigye to remain in Mulago for the rest of his life? He was in Mulago mainly to get treatment. And if in the opinion of the doctors who were attending to him, they had done their best and he would now continue outside the hospital, usually they discharge you. Are you saying all the patients who go to Mulago remain there until forever? No. When the doctors are satisfied that they have now stabilized you, they can discharge you. So he was discharged like any other patient. And my expectation that when he's discharged, he's taken back to Ruzira because that's where he had come from.
Okay. Are you mindful of the public perception that it is Baryomunsi who is attention-seeking? No wonder. He's all over the place. Now he's also conducting on-spot visits in hospitals in the wee hours of the night and making all manner of conclusions on the state of health facilities.
Well, I do not sell ice cream to please everybody. Please everybody. I have been in the public life for some time. I don't need the cameras. It is the cameras which follow me. So I do not do things for attention seeking or for the camera. I am strong enough to attract publicity without seeking for it. That's why when I visit, it becomes an issue.
Yeah, because it turns out into a stunt.
No,
Baryomunsi is visiting.
Now,
what if you had not even tweeted about it? What was so significant about you tweeting that I've visited Besigye?
Yes. And the most important part in that tweet was that he's steadily recuperating. Recuperating means he's recovering. And there was a press conference on that day by PFF members who were lying to the public that Dr. Besigye is still in the ICU, intensive care unit. He needs emergency evacuation out of the country. And as a Minister of Health, it is also my responsibility to assure the country that that is not true. Yes, he's still sick, still hospitalized, but he's steadily recovering. And that was the situation. So I have a public duty also to inform the public as a Minister of Health. So to me, there is nothing I am shy about. I walk with my head high because my conscience is very clear that the visits are not in the bad face. I don't visit to harm Dr. Besigye. Why should I? Oh, if you are saying, like they were insinuating I ordered Mulago, I don't have to visit Mulago to order them or anything. I don't have to physically visit. If it is true that I was meant to order them to release him, I can order even when I'm at home or when I'm in office. So
politics aside and medically speaking, do you realize how awkward you look when you impose yourself as a guest? Medically speaking,
so how?
Is it right?
What do you mean?
Is it right to visit a very unconscious
who was unconscious? Yes, even unconscious patients can be visited.
Yes.
Even somebody who is in intensive care unit can be visited. Visiting a patient, in my view, is an innocent issue. Unless if you are saying you visit with ill intentions, in which case you should prove that I have ill intentions when I visit.
Prove that you're innocent.
Okay, what harm did I cause by visiting? Both when he was in Ruzira and when... But this is the man from my area. I think what disturbs people is that just bent on this adversarial politics, this toxic politics, that because I am a government minister, because I am NRM, I should have nothing to do with somebody opposition. I say no. I am made of a different material. Simply because somebody is opposition does not mean he is my enemy. Does not mean I should wish him bad.
You burnt your fingers on the first visit.
Which fingers? My fingers are very clean. Do you see any scars? They are not burnt.
Okay, you got a backlash on the first visit.
From a section of Uganda.
And it should have taught you a lesson that Besigye doesn't need you.
Well, that is your view and the views of other people. But sometimes I don't necessarily follow what others think. I follow my conscience. My conscience tells me it's a good thing to visit somebody who is in prison. Rather in prison, to visit somebody who is sick. Even that's what Jesus advises us to do. I am a Christian. So, whether you speak what, whether you criticize me, whether you wish me wrong, as long as my conscience tells me this is right.
Do the insinuations about your visit speak to your conscience at all?
Absolutely. And they energize me. They energize me. Because for me, I feel my conscience very clear that I had that moral urge to pay a visit to Dr. Besigye. In any case, I was not visiting for a wrong reason or with ill will, just to visit him like we visit other patients. And that one clarifies my mind. So, I sometimes don't care whether people say what
I want us to.
So I don't visit to please anybody. I visit to please my conscience. So as long as my conscience is very clear, I am settled.
I want us to move away from the fuss about your visit to Besigye to your new fashion of work. It wasn't known of Baryomunsi to be erratic, jumping from one place to the other. Are you inspired by the Balaam style of work?
No,
that you are also doing night patrols on hospitals?
First of all, I am a medical doctor and I have practiced medicine. And what you need to appreciate is that the sickness and disease has no calendar, that someone will fall sick only during the day. So my style of work is that I visit hospitals anytime, during the day, even during the night when I can get time.
With cameras?
No, not necessarily. Like I said, at times I visit, then you find the cameras following me. Information leaks. There's a minister here in Mbarara, then the cameras come. But I don't do it for the cameras. I do not. The reason why I visit health facilities, particularly those situations when I do on-spot assessments, is to check the delivery of health services, especially at night. Because there can be a tendency where health workers just go and abandon health facilities. So I check any time of the day. There are those which I visit during the day, but not all my visits are publicized. I have visited many more hospitals than you are quoting, but some of them we don't even tweet, we just keep quiet. But the intentions are to check the health facilities so that I appreciate the good things that are being done, but also take note of the gaps and the challenges and try to fix them.
Are you cognizant of the discomfort and the unprofessionalism that comes with you stepping into wards with cameras deep in the night?
Not in the night. Of course, when you visit, you must be conscious of the privacy of the patients. And if you have watched where I have been, I do not intrude into the privacy of the patients. I even chase away people who have cameras. I think like in Barara where I was moving around, they saw the camera, people actually even stopped and said, no, get away, I will do an interview. Because they learned of my visit in Barara. In Kabale, I visited and then just did an interview the following day. I am very conscious. I'm a professional medical doctor. I know the do's and the don'ts and so forth. Have you, for instance, where I visited, seen the privacy of a patient exposed in my presence? No, I don't. Of course, there are those who have been saying, why are you not arresting people like the ministers of local government are doing? I said, no, the ministers of local government, for them, their campaign is expose the corrupt. That is the theme of their visits. My visits are not necessarily to expose the corrupt, but to assess the situation as is in the hospitals with an aim of rectifying whatever gaps that I may find. Let me tell you an example. When I went to Barara, when I went to the labor ward, if you remember the interviews the health workers gave, the midwife from duty said they have a shortage of delivery beds. And I can tell you, we have now sent additional delivery beds to Barara. I don't have to publicize it to come here today. We are sending beds. So there are things which we fix after my visit. When I went to Kabal, I found the X-ray machine was not functioning, and now we are fixing it. So for me, my intention...
So you were a fixer?
Yes. A fixer without necessarily going public to do whatever.
Is this sustainable in the short and long run? Can you be running over the country in that fashion?
Well, of course, I have a team in the Ministry of Health. I may not run the health center. If I pick randomly different health facilities, give me a picture of what goes on.
But wherever you've been,
yes,
you sound rather astonished.
Not necessarily.
It gives an impression that
I have been balanced.
There is a big dysfunction.
No, I have been balanced. When I report, of course, not everything I report in media. I make reports which we share in the Ministry of Health. For instance, Kabale. You saw my report on Kabale, which again I was rebuked by a section of the public. What I said, Kabale, despite the challenges, when I visited, we were functioning better. I found the health workers duty. I found, for instance, the CT scan working. There is a patient who was brought there at 1 a.m. and got an accident in the Kabale town. He was well. Actually, one of the pictures I tweeted, I was in that room where there is the CT scan. They said the hospital is clean, but there are challenges of X-ray of this. They don't charge patients. They don't extort money from patients. From what I assessed, they have signed posts all over that services are free. Even those that you pay, like the CT scan, the amounts are displayed. And if you are extremely poor, there is a system exempt you and waive off. So I found the hospital.
Are these the facilities that you're about?
Organized. Yeah, this was covered. So I had
beds, cracked walls.
So I wanted you want me to see the situation as a minister, so that we see how to rectify those.
But here is the
This was the center in Ruchiga. Because the parliament, Dr. Sylvia Lenit raised it on the floor that one of the buildings had collapsed. So I promised the floor parliament to send a team, but my team was delaying. I went there myself in Ruchiga, Kashambia. So you now want to condemn me?
No, I'm not condemning you. I'm just I'm just interrogating your style of work.
You are casting my views in bad light.
It's not typical of Baryomunsi.
You are casting. Why are you saying it's not typical?
Has there been a shift from the Baryomunsi of then, who would sit to direct policy?
I was the minister of ICT.
Play the oversight role, be more hands-on, more executive.
No, it depends where you were working. Previous, I was the Minister of Information, and I'm sure I was a regular guest here to inform the public. And now I am Minister of Health. I don't have to sit in office day in, day out. Health care is provided out there in the countryside. I have to be there to witness the first-hand account.
How much insight have your visits given on the decaying state of healthcare in Uganda?
No, it's not decaying. Don't just make conclusions because of that health facility you have seen. There are hospitals which look good, which have been renovated, which are new, and services are being given. But there are also challenges which are there. And you can't describe the healthcare system as decayed in Uganda. No. The health workers,
it's challenged.
Like any other. But we are on earth, not in heaven. So you will definitely find the challenges. And the reason why we are in leadership is to address those challenges. And you can't appreciate the challenges in healthcare by simply sitting in the office and reading reports. You also need to get on the ground and see with your own eyes, interact with the patients. Like when I was in Mbarara, I was interviewing the patients about drugs. Do you receive the drugs when the doctor has prescribed? And the majority of them were saying, no, we buy the drugs. That's a significant finding for me. And I engaged the authorities. I have put investigations to find out what exactly is the story with the drugs. I went to Mbarara again about a week or so. I was the chief guest at Ruharo at the Anglican church. And a woman after church service came to me and said, I want to thank you for the visit. I said, why? I was in Mbarara 2 days ago. They prescribed for me 4 different drugs and all of them were given to me. And I think it's because you had visited. So these visits also have impact.
Short term?
No, short, medium, and long term. Because when I visit a hospital like Mbarara or Kabale and anywhere else I have been, Itojo, I make reports. Which reports we discuss in the Ministry of Health. I can tell you even after here, we have a senior top management meeting in the Ministry of Health where we discuss these issues. And I ask them, how come in the Kabale hospital an X-ray machine broke down and it has taken a month without it being repaired? Because that's supervision. That's why I said, for me, it is support supervision. Support supervision. You take note of the positive things, you identify the challenges, you see how to fix them.
I'm reading something quite significant.
Yes.
That it takes Baryomunsi to visit a hospital to get things done.
No.
So does that suggest that the systems are down?
No. There are supervisions.
First work on the systems.
There are supervisions which are done by our technical teams. Maybe the difference that for us, the way we work in the Ministry of Health, not everything goes into the media. There are teams led by the PS, by the Director General of Health Services, our commissioners, directors. They visit, and they work with the district authorities. They visit hospitals, they make reports, which reports are discussed in the ministry. So mine is supplementary, is additional as a minister, as a political leader, to also get acquainted with what is on the ground.
I want to take you back to that particular footage of a healthcare facility that had cracked, whose walls had cracked, the beds were looking pathetic. How did the hospital get to that extent?
This is a health center 3 at the level of Gomborora and Kashambia sub-county in Ruchiga. And they told me, I think, the last time the structures were put together was 25 years ago. So the blame, I put it on the local government, because they are supposed to plan for these structures. Because the health center 3, a district hospital, the health center, those are under local governments. And they should have planned, captured the state of the health facility in the district plans, and then those plans reach us, and then we
But there is a
resources.
DHO. How much liability does it take?
I actually intended to have meetings with the DHOs. I'm going to do 4 regional meetings with the district health officers, Central, Northern, Eastern, Western, 3 plus the CAOs, and maybe other additional officers, depending on the budget that I may mobilize, to discuss with them how decentralized health services are functioning. I have issues with the way decentralized health services are running, like what you see. And we hope we shall have a meaningful engagement with a view of proposing changes in the way decentralization works. The question is, are the district health officers superintending over health care in their districts? Maybe yes, maybe not. Those are the issues which I'm going to discuss. So I don't want you to condemn me that I am visiting these health facilities.
No, I'm not condemning you, but
and where I find,
curious.
And I am just objective, where I find things bad like that, the condition of that health center, I don't have to hide. That's why I allow the cameras. You feel it. These are the challenges we face.
Okay.
So that when I go on the floor of parliament and ask for additional resources, they should know these resources are meant to improve the kind of health services.
You were once a state minister for health.
Yes.
has there been a paradigm shift in healthcare in the country? Are things getting worse than they were when you were state minister?
No, I think things are getting better.
But the picture you're depicting is worse.
Not really. No. Maybe the journalists focus on the challenges and negative things. Or maybe it's our weakness, we're not bringing out the positive part. But it's not true that the health services are getting worse. They have great improvements. Maybe next time I will visit a hospital which is shining, and then it is also beamed in the cameras for you to see. The emphasis sometimes is on the challenging things so that we can fix them. But there are ways in which you can assess whether things have been improving or not. There are those issues which are clear to the naked eye. The infrastructure, many hospitals have been put in place, health center fours, doctors have been taken to as low as health center 4 at the county level. There are those positive things. And actually, when we measure through studies, the findings are that the indicators are improving in many areas, whether you talk of mortality rates, whether you talk of people accessing services. But one of the challenges is the increase in the population growth. Okay. The population is increasing, and sometimes that population increase masks some of the achievements which are on record.
Can you stop these PR stunts and get to the real gist of the problems in the healthcare? The doctor-to-patient ratio remains a big question. The motivation of health officials remains a big question. Why don't you sit down and fix these systems before you get to...
No, but we do things concurrently. When you visit and you appreciate the shortage of health workers, the understaffing, then it gives you a clear sense of what is going on, and you are able to fix them. I don't think that approach would work, that you just sit in the office, fix these things, and keep
First
trying.
fix from the top.
Yeah, we are fixing.
And then get down to see whether the system is working.
We do them simultaneously. You fix, you assess, and when you visit, your observations inform you better, and then you are able to make correct decisions, correct policy changes. Like when you visit and find there are no health workers, there's absenteeism. For instance, I can tell you, we are going to pronounce ourselves on major policy reforms on doctors, on the question of dual employment. If you are employed as a consultant doctor in Mulago Hospital, should we allow you to run a private clinic? Or you should choose. Or if we allow you to run a private clinic, you tell us how many hours you will give government and how many hours you will give private services. Because even this shortage of health workers, to a large extent, is just artificial. You will find you have a senior doctor in Mbarara, in Mulago, in Kabale, but he spends probably 90% of the time in his private clinic and cheats government. You will find a consultant doctor in Mulago Hospital also has an administrative position in one of the private universities. And he gives 80 to 90% of the time to the private university and cheats the hospital. These are things we are going to confront. And when you visit and find in Mbarara, you tour the whole hospital, there is no senior doctor on duty. You check, this is a hospital with the consultants, with the teaching.
I think you're speaking to the obvious. Absenteeism of doctors is a perennial problem.
And we have to address it. We have to address it.
Then
the reason why, for instance, there is this issue of interns being paid and the perception that these interns who run these referral hospitals, which is not necessarily correct, but because the consultants, the senior doctors, spend more time in their private clinics, they abandon the government facilities. So now, as the minister in charge of health, we have to confront that issue.
Well, we want to take a very short break, and when we return, the Honorable Minister will be speaking out on the stalemate over medical interns. Government made another pronouncement that it is only interns in government universities who will be facilitated for their internship. How much storm or how better can government negotiate or navigate the current storm about interns? But remember, you have a choice on what to watch, and MTN TV on AfroMobile is giving you that opportunity. MTN TV by AfroMobile enables you to watch from anywhere and at any time all that you need that is palatable to you. Just subscribe, log on to, or rather download the MTN TV by AfroMobile off Google or iOS, and kaboom, you'll be good to go. Good morning.
Slow melting, smooth coating, long lasting. Stand a chance to win your share of 17.5 million shillings in prizes. Buy any Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate, scan the QR code or WhatsApp hi. Cadbury, there's a glass and a half in everyone. T's and C's apply.
Billions are invested, promises are made, projects are launched. But what happens after the ribbon is cut? Are public fans delivering results? Are communities seeing the impact? Every Sunday, NBS television follows the money, audits the promises, and examines the projects shaping Uganda with facts, evidence, and voices from the ground. Fixing Uganda. Auditing progress, demanding accountability. Every Sunday, only on NBS television.
Kumulembe kuna abakozi bachayambala ebintu ebyo bisambala bannanyini makolero si company abakozi mu bafuni uniforms eziri ku mulembe okuva mu Jood Color Solutions banyirire bafulume mu material ne design ebiriko ate nga kuliko n'akabonero ka company yo olwo business babantu maaso bagimanye tosubwa campaign eno omulamu akugamba nti stand out mu uniform yo ne Jood Color Solutions bali ku Prime Complex ku Johnson Street shop number C24 esimu noti 772 anamutano chenamwemu abiri mwenda wamune ku www.joodcolorsolutions.com.
The parent is Tulyahewa Dixon. And the child is Tulyahewa Esther.
Kambera gwete kwa mugisha ngo ishe watujyahewa Esther wahangura school fees ngene na hateja shana amashemero magonka MTN momo eberewo mbeni nyegasta igana kaga ni 5 sta manana 0 hash kushashuro mwana school fees tokoma nyo musheri zagwije wanje ninga nchaka ngwasa kuzo wawe mwebare munonga.
Why pay for someone else's repairs? Say goodbye to hidden costs and hello to peace of mind of a brand new start. Discover the Suzuki range of unmatched, fuel-efficient and reliable options. From the iconic Jimny to the new Across Hybrid. Find the perfect blend of style and world-class efficiency. Upgrade today and enjoy 1 year of free fuel and comprehensive insurance, plus 2 years of free service and a 3-year warranty. Trade in your current car or choose financing to start driving as you pay installments. Don't wait. Visit the Suzuki showroom today or call 0800-211-033 to get started.
Welcome back. It's still the topical discussion with Honorable Chris Baryomunsi, the Minister for Health. We miss you in national guidance, by the way.
I still guide from wherever I am.
Do you feel a bit of relief that you're out?
No, health is even much more busier than the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. But we can always guide. Like I'm guiding that there's nothing wrong visiting a patient, irrespective of the profile of that patient. So it is still guidance.
What informed your rush to declare Uganda Ebola-free before WHO made its pronouncement?
No, it is first of all the Ministry of Health, the government of Uganda, that announced an Ebola outbreak in Uganda, not WHO. So similarly, it is the Ministry of Health, the government of Uganda, to announce that Ebola is now, the outbreak is over. And we are guided by science. Usually when you have an outbreak of Ebola, when you discharge the last patient, then you count 2 cycles of an incubation period. The incubation period of Ebola is up to 21 days. Incubation period means when you get infected, how long does it take for the symptoms to play out, to come out? So the science guides that you take 2 cycles, which makes it 42 days. Probably what was confusing a section of people was the last patient whom we discharged was a Congolese national. Actually, I'm the one who officiated the discharge at the Mulago Treatment Center. When we went back, we looked at the science. And for this gentleman, he hid himself in a cargo truck from Congo. He came like a cargo. And when he reached Kampala, he called, said, I am a patient of Ebola. I have Ebola, pick me. Then he was picked. So when we traced back, this gentleman had not exposed any person to the risk of Ebola. And the reason why you count from the last patient is that you take into consideration the possibility of this patient having exposed some people, and therefore you give them that time for symptoms to express themselves if somebody was exposed. So when we assessed, we found that this last patient had not been in contact with anybody in Uganda, so he posed no risk. And therefore, we took the option to consider, so we discounted him and took the second last patient. And that's how the days of announcing came a little bit earlier than maybe what some people expected. But it was science. Because it's not just merely saying, we take the last patient, but you take the last patient because you have suspicion that he could have exposed some people to this illness, and therefore you give it time for that illness to express itself. But in our view, it was the second last patient who could have exposed Uganda. So we counted the 42 days from that second last patient.
Does the mutiness of World Health Organization on your announcement raise eyebrows?
Have they opposed it?
No, but no. By now they would have... common sense prevails that. By now they would be declaring Uganda Ebola-free to ease travel, to lessen the cost that the country is going through.
So by the time I made a public pronouncement on behalf of the Ministry of Health, I was sure that there is nobody in Uganda who was probably incubating with Ebola. Nobody. That nobody was at risk of this Ebola. That's when I announced. We are not reckless. We are scientists.
When Uganda announced that the country had been hit by Ebola, it took minutes for the World Health Organization to come out and say, yes, there is Ebola in Uganda. When you announced that the country is Ebola-free, World Health Organization went mute.
But it's not the World Health Organization in charge of the health of Ugandans. We are, as Ministry of Health. And they have not opposed that pronouncement.
Yeah, but their silence is telling.
What do you want them to say? Say the Minister
declare Uganda Ebola-free. So people
can that's travel. Not even the correct statement. It is the end of the outbreak that we declared. because Ebola can easily enter any time. So what I declared was the end of the 2026 Ebola outbreak.
So is Uganda Ebola free or not yet?
It is, in the sense that the outbreak which we announced is over. But we urge the Ugandans to remain fully alert, because in Congo, just across, it is under fire. Congo is under fire in terms of Ebola transmission. And we still have a big risk of getting other cases from Congo. But the outbreak which we had announced, we announced the end of that outbreak. And there's no contradiction at all, whether you keep listening to WHO saying anything or not, but you have not heard WHO contradict what we announced, because we work with the WHO, we're always in meetings, they are aware, and as far as I know, they are satisfied with the pronouncements that we made. So there should be no contradiction at all. Okay. There is no active transmission of Ebola disease anywhere in Uganda up to today.
Yeah, but have you sat down to assess the impact of your pronouncements? What if you had not gone so outspoken on the Ebola? Because you sounded so alarming when you were announcing that Uganda has been hit. It turned out that we didn't actually have, it wasn't as bad as you sounded.
In management of some of these notifiable diseases, viral hemorrhagic fevers like Ebola, even one case constitutes an outbreak. One case like this. So we were right to announce, because we run a transparent system in terms of disease notification. And Uganda is credited for that. That's why, if you recall, in the 80s, when the president came out to say Uganda has a challenge of HIV and AIDS, many other countries were condemning Uganda. How can you open up to that problem? Now tourists will not come, investors will not come, but we take the health of Ugandans as primary, then the rest can come. So it was important that we alert Ugandans. Does it take all the
hype? I mean, US had hantavirus, but they were quite measured on their announcements. Uganda suspected cases, and you were so outspoken.
Not suspected, we had confirmed a case of Ebola. This was a Congolese national who came in Uganda on the 10th of May, was hospitalized in Chibuli. The health workers didn't know, and he died on the 14th when the samples were taken. On the 15th of May, it was confirmed it was Ebola. And actually that patient infected some health workers. So you can choose to keep quiet so that the infection can spread.
No, you manage it. Do you have any lessons?
No, but how would we alert people? The way, how would we alert people in Kanungu who are on the border with the
US managed the hantavirus. And it came at a time where US was hosting the World Cup. But somehow, somewhere, they didn't headline it as much as Uganda headlined Ebola.
Well, like I have said, each country has its style of doing things. For us, we choose to be open,
raise alarms,
to be transparent. Let me give you an example. If, for instance, we had not stopped and postponed the Namugongo celebrations, Uganda Matters Day, because by the time we made that announcement to stop Namugongo, there were Congolese who were already trekking to Kampala, over 600 of them. If we had allowed them to come to the Mugongo, today the story would be different in Uganda. It would be like Congo, where they have lost over 2,000 people. Now Ebola would be in all corners of the country. So some of those decisions are painful but necessary. The English say, to get an omelette, you must break the egg. So even when we say we are now announcing the end of the Ebola outbreak, it is because of those pronouncements where we alert Ugandans to be very vigilant, especially communities around the border with the DRC. So yes, the announcements may cause pain by having countries impose travel restrictions, by limiting the number of tourists and visitors coming, but that's temporary. Eventually, that will open up and they will come. What is primary is for us to save the lives of Ugandans, and we don't feel any regrets for that.
Have you counted the cost? of the time Uganda has been under a semi-lockdown?
Yes, we count the costs, but also we take note of the sicknesses and deaths which have been averted by that response against Ebola. So you look at it. Okay, what if we had kept quiet and we're now talking of thousands of people dying? Even if tourists are coming, money is coming, but Ugandans are dying. So you weigh the opportunity cost, which one is better? To bring in tourists, investors, they come, support our economy, but Ugandans die of Ebola, or we first stop the deaths of Uganda and the sickness. Then once we have stabilized it, then the dollars can come in. So for us as Minister of Health, we think what is primary is safeguard the lives of Ugandans first. Like Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, that seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Then the rest will fall in line. So prevent illnesses and ensure Ugandans are healthy. Okay. Then the rest will fall in line.
You've heard accusations that Uganda loves overhyping health crisis because they bring in quite some money from donors.
Well, those are perceptions. But when I entered the ministry, we're also trying to streamline how we communicate. And I want to agree with you, we should not hype always, like you're saying, but we have a duty to notify and communicate about diseases which affect us. So we are doing a careful balancing. We pass on communication without injuring the economy in Uganda. We are managing that. But as health workers, we have that responsibility, which is even captured in the international health regulations under WHO, that when we get such illnesses, we must notify WHO, we must inform the country.
Well, as we get out of here, how are you navigating your standoff with doctors, the Uganda Medical Association, and other fellows in the medical world over the issue of interns?
Yes.
And how thorny is it?
It's a blunt thorn, not a piercing thorn. We shall go over it. Okay, time has run, but I wish you had a bit more time to explain this issue. The medical students who complete their training at university for a degree in medicine, pharmacy, nursing, are required to undertake 1 year of apprenticeship, that's internship, if they would like to practice their profession. Because you do internship so that you get a license, a practicing license. And when I joined the medical school over 30 years ago, we had that time Makerere University and Mbarara had also come on board. Today, because of the liberalization policy expanding the education landscape, we have over 10 universities offering medical education. So the numbers of doctors, pharmacists, nurses coming out, the numbers are big. And this is what informed the new health training policy 2025 that was championed by the Ministry of Education, where proposals were made regarding facilitation of the interns, because the interns have been receiving an allowance of 1.2 million Uganda shillings, then you tax it, you remove 200, the net of 1 million shillings. So a proposal was made, what is the, riding the interns, the pre-interns, was made that the internship be considered as a continuation of training, and to that extent, that the students who were under government sponsorship will continue to be sponsored by government in terms of their facilitation when they are doing internship, and that for those who were privately sponsored, those government provides meals. That's what has angered, if I can call it, the interns and sections of the public. I met these pre-interns and we spent 6 hours in discussion explaining to them, but we also undertook to, as Minister of Health, to carry out consultation with a view of seeing whether we can modify some of these proposals. And we agreed with the interns, I hope they are watching, the pre-interns, because they are not yet interns. You become an intern when you report and sign a contract with the hospital management. That they report, the reporting period is between the 3rd and 14th of this month, as we carry out consultations.
Yeah, but there is a new twist that you're now going to cater for government students only, government interns.
No, this is what I've explained, that the policy was saying facilitation as it has been continues for those who were government sponsored at university, and then for those who were privately sponsored, government will only provide meals. And the cabinet requested the Ministry of Health to compute how much it would be to cater for the meals. That's what they call the difference between the government sponsored and the private. And I told the interns we are consulting, including with the president and the cabinet, and see whether we can. And there was a goodwill, but I warned them that if you take a confrontational approach, you might injure the goodwill, which some of us have.
But you've heard you've had the stance of the Uganda Medical Association.
I think Uganda Medical Association, with due respect, their leaders are misleading these young people. They are misleading. And my plea would be for these young pre-interns to report and start internship as we sort out these issues. If you choose to use a confrontational approach, it may not yield results faster for you.
Is this the Baryomunsi who led the strike for interns?
No, I didn't.
Back in the day.
No, I didn't. I didn't lead the interns strike. But I'm just saying.
No. While you were at medical school, you led a strike.
No, I participated in an industrial action where we were demanding for better welfare for health workers in the country. It wasn't for interns.
Now, the issue of interns is on your table.
It is, yes.
And
I'm
you
handling
seem to be approaching it with a lot of indifference.
No. Why? I have been very outspoken over this issue. And even at the risk of appearing to be going against the policy which was passed, I have told the interns we are going to engage over this issue. So take heart. You report for internship as we engage the authorities that be, so that we can rectify some of the areas where you have misgivings.
Why would you say that the medical association is misleading interns?
Yes, it is too outspoken, too confrontational. They are even questioning whether we are qualified enough as ministers to lead, saying all sorts of things, and we are watching.
Are you seeing any merit in their stance, in their...
No, you see, I have been one of those who have, like we're saying, fought for the better welfare of health workers. You need to watch and see which tactics you should use. Not all the time we must use confrontation, especially where the Ministry of Health, and even many ministers, have a good will. The Vice President, Her Excellency Jessica Rupo, and the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja, they were on the floor of Parliament and assured the Parliament we shall look at this and see how we can have a meeting of minds. If you have the goodwill from government, what I expect the Medical Association to do would have to come and engage us and say, now, what do we do with this? But if you take a confrontational path, it may not deliver results for you, I tell you. So you should choose the tactics, the strategies, depending on how the dynamics are playing.
You want to say government doesn't have money to cater for all interns, right?
Yeah, it's a question of the budget.
Yeah, but
the numbers.
Where are the priorities?
The priorities?
Yes, the Medical Association has come out to show you how there are quite a number of misaligned priorities where if there were budget cuts, it would enable the ministry to cater for medical interns, appreciating the criticality of the role of the interns.
Do they think we do not know the role of interns as Minister of Health? Are you saying Uganda Medical Association understands better the criticality of interns compared to what we know? I can tell you, for instance, there's a time when hospitals that host interns run without interns for 5 months. But the evidence I have on my desk that mortality reduced in those hospitals, although the other senior doctors were overworked. So it is also not true. It's a fallacy to say these hospitals are run by interns. Right now,
The argument is that they contribute 70%.
no, that's not true. With the evidence, let somebody come and say we have carried out a study and the findings. We must be scientific. We must be methodical in what we say. Don't just see, people should not just play out words. For instance, right now, I'm not discrediting interns. They make a contribution. Right now, the interns who have been running, serving the internship have concluded and withdrawn. And the new ones are reporting. Have you had any hospital which has closed? Because the interns have left.
Can you do without
play? Yes, we can. There are many hospitals. You see, interns are deployed in hospitals where they are consultants. And largely, these are regional referral hospitals and national referral hospitals. A few of the private, not-for-profit, like in Zambia, Rubaga, that's where interns are deployed. But like many of the general hospitals in the districts, health center force, they don't have consultants. We don't have interns there. Don't they run? So it is not true that the health service in Uganda is run by interns. That's not true. Probably what speaks to that is the absenteeism and the cheating that the government health workers do, because they spend most of the time in their private facilities, which normally we are going to fix.
Do you get a sense? Do you get a sense that?
And they have told the interns, we need them, yes, to do internship, but probably they need internship much more than the other.
Okay.
Because for you,
is government being ransomed by interns?
No, they are fighting for their welfare, which is okay. But I have told them, since there is goodwill on the side of government, you do not. Why? I am the one speaking as the Minister of Health.
If there was, this problem would be resolved by now. There is money. There is money.
Where?
There is money.
If I be again and I tell you the priorities, like say in the health sector, where we need resources. And nobody is saying the interns should not be facilitated. We're not saying that. We are saying, well, this policy passed, but we can do more consultations. So they should be understanding that we mean well, the Ministry of Health means well, and there is good faith. But if you abuse the good faith, then you can delay resolution of some of these challenges.
I see a bit of negligence on the part of government in not prioritizing interns. Are you learning from what other countries are doing? How
let me give you an example.
Are pricing
let me give you an example.
Interns?
In the past few years, because of the many numbers that come out of the medical schools, not all students who have qualified were being deployed for internship. But this time around, all those who have qualified and have been submitted by the universities, plus those who had been waiting, all of them have been deployed for internship. That is a fundamental shift from how it was.
But they're not being paid.
No,
you have deployed, but you're not facilitating.
No, they are being facilitated in a manner I have told you. That what the policy speaks to is that those who were government sponsored, the facilitation as it has been continues, and then for those who were privately sponsored, it will be a provision of meals. That's what the contestation is, and they are saying, treat us fairly, don't discriminate us. And I have told them, okay, we are consulting, because I don't have the power to reverse what has been passed. If I had, probably I would make pronouncements, but I am carrying out consultations with the power that
I see a Baryomunsi whose hands are tied.
No, they are open.
Would you wish you had the latitude to really act as you ought to, as a medical doctor?
Yeah, but if a policy has been passed by cabinet,
your hands are tied.
Do you want to say I should be reckless and denounce it as an individual? No, that's not how the government works. We have collective responsibility. If a decision has been made at that level, then it is only fair that I have to consult.
Is there a possibility that this policy is going to be rescinded soon?
No. You see, the policy is very broad and has very many provisions. It's not a bad policy. Where the contestation is on that issue of the welfare, the allowances, which is a small section of the bigger, broader policy that speaks to training. And Ugandans should know that why all these changes, and maybe you should read that policy, is that we would want that when a medical student qualifies from university, does internship, and he or she is released, he should be a competent doctor. You should be comfortable appearing before this doctor. Because what has happened is that there are many medical schools that have come out, and we want to standardize and professionalize the training so that a doctor who comes out of Makerere Medical School, Busitema, Guru, King Caesar University, KIU, should be a competent doctor where every Ugandan should be comfortable. Like now, we are going to sit with the Ministry of Education and do strong regulation on the medical schools. When I was admitted in Makerere for medical training, we were less than 100. I think if I recall, we graduated when we were like 48. Makerere. But now there are these medical schools who are admitting huge numbers, and then you can't be sure of the quality of training. So this policy is speaking to ensuring standards, ensuring quality, ensuring competence, so that the doctors whom we graduate and do internship, they are competent doctors. Okay. You wouldn't want to appear...
In your appreciation, medical interns are doctors. They are not students, right? They are graduates.
Well, in some universities, they have already graduated. In some others, graduation is yet to happen. So when you have qualified, you have passed exams, the university has cleared you. Yes, you a doctor. Then
these are medical. These are medical doctors.
Yes.
Who have spent 5 years at university.
Yes.
And then you only want to reward them with lunch. How ridiculous can this be?
No. You see, it's a transition period. They are not government employees per se. Because when you start internship, you get a provisional practicing license. Because internship means you perfect your skills, you start practicing, but under the care and supervision of the seniors. That's what internship is. So that once the seniors are fully satisfied that you have the competence, you have the skills, you can be on your own, then the professional council can give you a license, a practicing license. And then you can go and be able to practice on your own. So it should be understood that way. It's not that the government is employing them the way they issue a medical officer with an appointment letter and post you in the Kambuga Hospital, Kagadi Hospital. No. This is a transition where you are transiting from studenthood to an actual...
No, these are medical doctors, right?
With their name,
interns are medical doctors.
With their names written in the pencil.
Essentially.
With their names written in the pencil, in a sense that...
Sorry?
Let me explain.
Interns are medical doctors with their names written in a pencil.
In terms of practicing medicine. Because you are not going to be issued or allowed to open a clinic, for instance, if you haven't done internship. So internship is given to these medical graduates for them to be assessed and for 1 year to be under the care of the superiors, the consultants, so that when they satisfy the consultants, you can now be given a practicing license and be on your own. You can go and run a hospital on your own. You can open a clinic. You can be employed by a government, by a hospital, and so forth. So it is that transitional period from being a student to being a fully registered doctor. Yes, so they are doctors because they have passed exams. They have graduated. Okay,
we're getting out of here, but do you find it dignifying that all you can give a doctor is portioned beans for lunch?
Who tells you that portioned beans? You can also eat meat and rice and what? No, the contestation is on the facilitation. How do we facilitate this doctor to go through the 1 year of internship? And we're saying that's a legitimate question. Let's look at it. Are there some gaps in the policy which was passed, which we can revisit? And there is a good will.
So who is getting it wrong? Is it Uganda Medical Association?
Absolutely, the Uganda Medical Association.
Can there be a middle ground?
Which is reading bad faith on the side of government, and I'm saying no.
And you're also reading bad faith on their side.
And I'm saying this is an issue where you can sit constructively and engage and come with an amicable solution, but not to be show the power of might. That we are going to push you on the wall until when you yield. When you use that approach, sometimes especially the situation where there is goodwill from the other side. Where if we're saying no, but we cannot revisit, then you would say, okay, let's push these guys. But where people are saying, okay, we can look at it, this provision, if there were inadequate consultations, we can revisit this issue. Then for you choose to use all sorts of insulting words and so forth. So my advice, again, is that our young doctors, pharmacy nurses, report for internship as we handle this issue. Because on the 15th, I am going to ask all the hospital directors to give me a report of those who will have reported for internship.
So there is an ultimatum?
No, they were given deployment instructions that you report between the 3rd and 14th.
If you don't?
If you don't, then we may consider you to have forfeited your internship placement. Because you see, much as there is this welfare question, but these doctors need the internship for them to complete their process and get licensed so that you can now go and practice medicine. So probably, without being rude, you can say these doctors need the internship more than even this fight about the facilitation.
And you can't do without them?
No, I'm not saying that. Those are your words. These are our colleagues. These are our people.
Honorable Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, what a pleasure hosting you this morning. And the discussion definitely continues about the state of healthcare in the country. Remember, the new baby on the block is MTN TV by Afro Mobile. Just download the app and stay up to speed with every conversation of your choice. Good morning.
You wanna make tasty food that says you want to do that doesn't steal Candaling one no ya nai Sika de buto one nai Nailo akro ya Sika de buto one nai Candaling one no ya nai.
Cook better, sell better with Nile Healthy Cholesterol-Free Cooking Oil and non-sticky wheat flour. Nile, yenyabo.
Eno y'ensibuko y'obulungi bw'ennyaffe Uganda. Ensozi ezigulumidde n'ebibira ebiziyivu kyokka nga bikwesezaabu. Wali olabye ku mazike wakati mu kiragala obuwangwa n'ennono ebyewuunyisa. Ebibuga, ebinyonyi, obutonde obweyagaza kw'ossa amazina n'embeera z'abantu byonna mu puroguramu Lambula.
Influence is more than followers, it's impact. At Next Influencer, we connect brands with the right voices through a thorough vetting and discovery process. We onboard influencers with hands-on workshops that build skills, unlock real opportunities, and fuel professional growth. Brands find the perfect match, influencers get dignified jobs, and audiences experience authentic stories. This is where influence becomes value. Next Influencer. Create, discover, connect, influence.
planning an event? Think of X Events. For the best photography and videography of all kinds, we believe that every moment is worth capturing. Whether Kwanjula, weddings, kuhinjira, bringing out the culture and glamour. And of course, a professional team that has mastered the art of the game and progea with elegance. X Events is located along Rubaga Road on Access Building opposite Hotel Sojavalo. X Events, capturing your precious moments.
Deceit, in partnership with Uganda Communications Commission and NBS.
Don't let your mornings be boring.
It's World Chimpanzee Day.
Yeah.
These are our cousins. We can't run away from it, guys.
Yeah, man.
These are our cousins.
Just official kokana the money.
And one thing that you should know, just like some of you over the weekends when you are together having a good time as man and woman, chimpanzees greet each other with hugs and kisses. Shockingly, you might find some chimpanzees kiss better than some humans.
It's the Morning Switch on 106.1 Next Radio.
Every tricolor flag tells a story. Every anthem stirs a memory. Every Independence Day reminds us of the courage, sacrifice, and unwavering spirit that shaped a nation. This 79th India Independence Day, celebrate with Radio Wala by sharing your personalized Independence Day message across Radio Wala, Next Radio, and NBS TV, reaching thousands across Uganda and beyond. Join us in honoring the spirit of freedom while showcasing your brand as part of this meaningful celebration. Special India Independence Day advertising packages start from 1 million Uganda shillings. Reserve your spot today. Call or WhatsApp 0774 290 800. Radio Wala. Let's play.
NBS happening now.
Welcome back. We just want to take you straight to something very exciting that's happening. A cybersecurity conference getting underway, courtesy of the Uganda Communications Commission, and it's happening at the Sheraton right now. There you go, coming to you live.
To your neighbor and say we are at the inaugural cybersecurity conference. And feel free to update your LinkedIn profile and say, I attended the inaugural National Cybersecurity Conference, if you haven't updated in a long while. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me recognize protocol, the Honorable Minister of State of ICT who will be joining us, Joyce Sebugwao, the Governor Bank of Uganda, Dr. Michael Atingiego, the Executive Director, Uganda Communications Commission, who is our host. Can we give him a round of applause? But he's not here alone. He's here with the board. We have the chair of the board, Dr. Charity Basaza Mulenga. Thank you for joining us with your board members, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, and the leadership of Uganda Communications Commission, like they say, the captains of the industry that are here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure for me to be your program manager and MC for the 2 days at the inaugural National Cybersecurity Conference. You can be sure my profile is changing today. I don't know about you, but let's put this into perspective. Our digital economy is accelerating, and the March 2026 report that UCC has published, that is on the website, puts us at 61.6 million mobile subscriptions with about 47.5 active, and they're looking at 90 days. There are 58.7 million mobile money subscriptions. And UCC puts the data at 36.7 million mobile money active subscriptions. We're at an interesting time that the mobile subscriptions have surpassed the population. And that's interesting. But with that connectivity comes exposure. Let's zoom in. Last week, Interpol released its Africa Cyber Threat Assessment Report. The headline, 55% of cybercrime across Africa is now AI-enabled. I know there are those on the fence of AI, and they're like, aha, we told you. No, hold on. It is AI-enabled because we're also discovering quite a lot around AI. Ladies and gentlemen, the same report says losses more than doubled in a single year, from $192 million to $484 million. This is the Interpol Cyber Threat Assessment Report on Africa. So we are not watching this from a distance. We are right in the middle of it. And so, Mr. Executive Director, sir, what you are hosting is not just a conversation. It is something that should have started years ago, but it's never too late. And permit me, sir, to invite you to speak to us and make your opening remarks. Let's put our hands together as we recognize and invite Honorable Nyombi Tembo to come and speak to us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nietegeka. Mr. Governor, sir, the PS, Minister of Education and Sports, the Chair of the Board and board members of the UCC, the CEOs present, our invited guests, the media, cybersecurity professionals, researchers, innovators, and students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the UCC, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural National Cybersecurity Conference 2026. This is an important occasion for Uganda, as it marks the first time that government, regulators, security agencies, telecommunication operators, financial institutions, technology companies, academia, innovators, and cybersecurity practitioners have come together specifically to deliberate on the security of our digital ecosystem. Perhaps the key question here should be, and for the conference for that matter, if Uganda succeeded in connecting every citizen, you've heard the numbers from our Director of Ceremonies, every business and every government service, but those connections couldn't be trusted, would we have succeeded? I believe the answer is no. At the UCC, we speak a great deal about connectivity. We regulate communication networks, promote universal access, support innovation, and seek to expand participation in the digital economy. But connectivity by itself is not a destination. Connectivity must be meaningful. It must be safe. It must be resilient. And above all, it must fit in well into the trust ecosystem. Must be trusted. That's why cybersecurity must not be something we add to digital transformation after the infrastructure has been built. Cybersecurity must be part of the infrastructure itself. Actually, it must be a culture. As Uganda's digital ecosystem continues to expand rapidly, communication networks increasingly support far more than voice calls and messaging. They support mobile money and banking, e-commerce, education, healthcare, agriculture, government services, entertainment, as well as emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. This expansion brings enormous opportunities, but it also comes with greater risks. UCC latest communication sector cybersecurity posture report shows progress, but also concern in our cybersecurity situation. Reported malware infections declined from approximately 1.59 million in 2024 to 1.41 million in 2025. Whereas this decline is encouraging, the sector's overall security rating remained within the basic security category, indicating elevated risk. We are also seeing mobile malware, ransomware, denial of service attacks, vulnerable web infrastructure, and increasingly sophisticated phishing and impersonation, including the use of AI. These threats are real. The question before us, therefore, is how do we ensure that the defenders stay ahead of the threat? The answer is in one word: collaboration. A cyber criminal does not stop to consider which government agency has jurisdiction before launching an attack. A fraudster does not care whether a transaction crosses a telecommunication network, a bank, a fintech platform, or a cloud service. Ransomware does not respect institutional boundaries. Yes, sometimes those of us defending our systems, yet sometimes those of us defending our systems operate in silos. That, I think, must change. Government must work across government. Regulators must work with security agencies. Telecommunications operators must work with financial institutions. Industry must work with academia. Researchers must work with practitioners. And Uganda must continue working with regional and international partners because cybersecurity knows no borders. At UCC, we have sought to make collaboration a central part of our cybersecurity work. Through UGASAT, established in 2013, the Commission provides cyber threat intelligence to licensed operators, issues indicators of compromise, publishes honeypot intelligence, undertakes cybersecurity awareness, supports incident response, provides digital forensics capability, and conducts cyber drills and simulation exercises. We have also implemented initiatives such as the Cyber Stars program to nurture the next generation of cybersecurity talent. But a SAT is only as effective as the ecosystem around it. Threat intelligence is not shared quickly. If not shared quickly, loses value. A vulnerability that is identified but not addressed remains an opportunity for an attacker. And an incident response plan that has never been tested remains merely a document. This is why the Commission recently developed minimum cybersecurity guidelines for licensed operators. These guidelines establish a baseline for securing critical infrastructure, protecting consumer data, and mitigating sector-wide risks. I want to emphasize that compliance should not be a box-ticking exercise, but rather an expression of commitment to risk management, customer trust, business continuity, and national security. As we look ahead, I would like this conference to focus on 5 practical areas. First, stronger and faster threat information sharing. Second, better national incident coordination. Third, strong cybersecurity governance and accountability. Fourth, investment in skills and local capability. And fifth, we must keep consumers at the center. Because behind every mobile phone or online account, there is an individual. Ultimately, cybersecurity is about protecting people, building trust, and securing the systems on which our society increasingly depends. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, UCC new tagline is a connected Uganda 2030. But today, I would add another important dimension. A connected Uganda must also be a secure Uganda. And that security cannot be built by one regulator, one ministry, one telecom company, or one SAT. We must build together. I thank you for God and my country.
Can we give the ED another round of applause? ED, I want to request that you permit me, because a lot of people are looking at me and saying, since when did you? I was called doctor, but this is the title that ED has given me since the first time he met me. And I know there are those who are already tweeting and saying, since when did Michael become a doctor? Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mr. Michael Niitejeka. Peter Mukuru, you've heard, eh? You know, these days people ask you, show us which university is awarding. The list I attempted around PhD was application to join, and then, but can we give our ED another round of applause? And I think he said that. One of the things we agreed about this conference is that we are not going to read bios. All the people that are going to speak have very rich profiles online. And so without wasting time, allow me my singular honor to invite our Governor Bank of Uganda, Dr. Michael Atenge Ego. That's what they call a mathematician. You can't have to go around. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. I'll call you Michael, namesake. The ED Uganda Communications Commission. Allow me to stand on the protocol that was earlier observed. And a very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. To me, it's a privilege to join you at this inaugural National Cybersecurity Conference. And on behalf of Bank of Uganda, let me commend the Uganda Communications Commission, the UCSAT, and every partner who has made this gathering possible. That this room holds regulators and security agencies, bankers, and telecom providers, technologists and academicians, development partners, and public servants is itself the argument I've come to make today, that cybersecurity is no longer the responsibility of one institution, like the ED said earlier on. It is a national capability. Honorable Nyobi Tembo, with your indulgence, the key topic you proposed to me, that is, what, cybersecurity, as a foundation for Uganda's digital transformation and national resilience, unquote, is, I hope you'll agree, precisely what this conference theme already promises. I have simply tried to honor it by tweaking it to, quote, trust by design, building a cyber-resilient digital economy for Uganda, unquote, in my remarks. Beneath that theme lies a proportion that I want to leave with you this morning. Uganda's transformation will succeed only if finance, technology, and trust advance together. Technology can accelerate transformation. Finance can turn transformation into investment, production, and opportunity. But trust is what allows citizens, businesses, and institutions to participate with confidence. And cybersecurity is increasingly the principal means by which that trust is earned and kept. So the question before us is not simply how to keep intruders out. It is this: how do we build a digital economy that Uganda can trust, that businesses can rely on, that investors can believe in, and that the economy can depend upon, even when systems come under stress? The question is what I want to explore this morning. Let me be plain about why this matters to a central bank. Trust is not a soft virtue added on top of sound economics. It is an infrastructure, as real and as load-bearing as a road or a power line. Remove it, and every investment we make in connectivity, financial inclusion, and digital government sits on that ground can give way without warning. That's why we treat cybersecurity this morning not as an IT agenda item, but as a macroeconomic one. Now, what are the stakes in here? Let me be direct about the scale of what we're discussing. Uganda's digital footprint is expanding rapidly. It's estimated that 23 million Ugandans, nearly a half of our population, are now online, driving commerce, financial inclusion, education, and government service delivery. Our digital transformation roadmap for 23-24 to 27-28 aims higher still: 90% broadband coverage and 90% citizens accessing e-services online by 2040. That ambition is a right one, but every gain in reach is also a gain in exposure. The Uganda Police Force annual crime reports record that reported cybercrime cases nearly doubled. The report says that this increased from about 245 in 2023 to 474 in 2024, a rise of over 93%, before easing only slightly to 412 in 2025, still close to double the 2023 level, with associated financial losses running into billions of shillings each year. A national assessment by NITA-U found that roughly 4 in every 10 Ugandan small and medium enterprises have already experienced some form of cyber attack. World over, this picture is starker still. Industry estimates now put around the annual cost of cybercrime at some $10.5 trillion a year. A sum that, were this a national economy, would rank among the largest 3 in the world. That's how bad it is. And the frontier of these risks is moving faster than our institutions can easily track. Barely weeks ago, the world learned, through disclosures from 2 of the world's leading artificial intelligence developers, that autonomous AI agents had, without direct human instruction, reached the production system at a major technology company. I raise this not to alarm you, but to make a simple point. The tools available to both attackers and defendants are changing in real time. Whatever we resolve at this conference, therefore, cannot be a static resolution. It must be a commitment to continuous adaptation. The pace of change is precisely why cybersecurity can no longer be viewed as merely a technical issue. It has become a national capability, one that underpins economic stability, protects critical infrastructure, safeguards public confidence, and ensures the continuity of national services when disruptions occur. In today's interconnected world, national resilience is increasingly measured by our ability to anticipate, withstand, respond to, and recover from cyber incidents. Uganda is already laying a foundation for this capability. The National Cybersecurity Strategy 2022 to 2026 commits us to a whole-of-nation approach, and only weeks ago, government launched an updated National Information Security Framework 2026, providing public institutions with practical tools and minimum security controls. These are the right foundations. The task now is to turn them into everyday practice across every institution represented in this room, not only those with a statutory duty to comply. Now let me move from just institutions to the ecosystem. So it brings me to my second point, one that changes how we should think about resilience itself. The power of digital technology comes not from individual systems, but from the connections between them. A payment platform that links banks, telecom operators, merchants, and consumers. A digital identity that links citizens to dozens of services at once. A cloud infrastructure that links many institutions to common providers. That interconnectedness creates enormous value. And it's also precisely how disruption works. A vulnerability in a telecommunications network can surface as a crisis in the financial services. A compromise in one identity credential can open doors across the entire ecosystem. Engineers have long known that network strength lies not in any single node, but in how failure propagates between them. A lesson financial regulators learned at a great cost in the 2008 global financial crisis, and one that cybersecurity is now teaching every other sector afresh. The relevant unit of resilience then is no longer only one institution. Increasingly, it is an ecosystem. The question that each of us must ask is not only, is my institution secure? It is how secure is the network of institutions on which mine depends, and on which others now depend on me. For the Bank of Uganda, this is not an abstraction. Financial stability has always depended on capital and liquidity. It now depends equally on availability, integrity, and reliability of the systems through which financial activity flows. Our supervisory work looks beyond individual balance sheets to system-wide vulnerabilities and interconnections, precisely because cyber incidents that begin as a technical failure can, within hours, become a payment disruption, a loss of confidence, and if we are not prepared, a financial stability event. That's why, effective December 2024, the bank issued cyber and technology risk management guidelines requiring every supervised financial institution to build robust governance, data protection, and security controls into their operations, backed by supervisory enforcement. And it's why the bank's own information security program is aligned to international standards. International standards such as for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving information security management systems that provides management with a framework and control through which an organization systematically identifies and manages its risks. And this is both under executive and board oversight. Our most recent financial stability review identifies cyber threats and system vulnerabilities as continuing operational risk to the sector, a finding we take as a standing instruction in to ourselves, not merely an observation about others. We do not ask of the sector what we are not prepared to demonstrate ourselves. No serious institution can assume it will never face an incident. The more useful question is, how well prepared are we when prevention fails? That is the discipline of resilience, the capacity to anticipate, withstand, detect, respond, recover, and critically, to learn. We do not design financial systems on assumptions that shocks will never occur. We hold capital buffers and run stress tests precisely because we know they will. We know that these cybersecurities, therefore, deserve the same rigor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me shift a bit. Let me now turn to how we might operationalize the three foundational principles of my remarks today. That is collaboration, resilience, and trust, like it was already mentioned by the ED of UCC. The first shift is from parallel effort to collaboration as a capability. Threats do not respect institutional boundaries. Our defenses cannot either. That means stronger mechanisms for threat intelligence sharing, coordinated incident response, joint cross-sector exercises, and where it matters most, a shared, appropriately calibrated baseline of resilience across every institution connected to Uganda's critical digital ecosystem. I would put a challenge to this room. The rigor we now require of banks under our cyber and technology risk management guidelines should not remain a banking sector achievement alone. Telecommunications, government agencies, and utility providers all have good reason to speak the same language of security, even where regulatory mandate that governs them differs. The second shift I want to turn to is resilience, as a compliance to resilience as practice. A framework filed away in a drawer is necessary but not sufficient. I would ask every leader here to pose the uncomfortable question before a crisis, not during one. What happens if our primary system fails? If our key technology provider is unavailable for a day? If several institutions are hit simultaneously? Who decides? Who communicates? Who coordinates? And how quickly can we restore what matters most? A continuity plan nobody has rehearsed. A backup nobody has restored is not yet a capability. It is a hope written down on papers. These are the questions that separate the prepared from the merely compliant. The third shift is treating trust as the outcome by which we judge ourselves. Not the number of policies we hold, not the firewalls we have bought, but whatever citizens and businesses genuinely believe the systems they depend on are safe, reliable, and accountable. Trust is not an intangible. It has economic value. It's why a citizen adopts a public or a digital public service. Why a business commits capital to a digital platform. Why an investor backs our markets with confidence rather than with caution. So that is the importance of trust. And because of trust, once lost, it's far costlier to rebuild than to protect in the first place. Safeguarding it is not a defensive expense. It is an investment in the credibility of our entire digital economy. There's sometimes a temptation to frame our choice as one between security and innovation. To me, that is wrong. The real choice is between innovation that is trusted and an innovation that is fragile. Between growth that compounds over years and growth that can be halted by a single avoidable shock. Security, properly understood, is not the tax we pay for innovation. It is one of the conditions that makes innovation sustainable, which is why the principle I would leave with this conference is simple. Build security in, do not bolt it on. Whether we are building a payments platform, a digital identity system, or deploying artificial intelligence in public services, security, privacy, and responsible governance belong in the design from the very first day, not the review that follows after something has gone wrong. Now, let's look at from the national context. At this inaugural conference opens, perhaps its most useful outcome would be a shared national compact built on 3 commitments. 1, that we will not let institutional boundaries become gaps through which risk travels. And 2, that we will judge our preparedness not by our ability to prevent every incident, but by our ability to withstand, recover, and learn from the ones we cannot prevent. And finally, that we will not measure our digital transformation ultimately by whether Ugandans trust it enough to build their own futures upon it. So that's how we measure our digital transformation. So Uganda's digital future will not be secured by technology, regulations, or investment alone. It will be secured by institutions, systems, and people choosing deliberately and repeatedly to work together. Let us secure by design, collaborate across boundaries, and build resilience before the crisis arrives. So that when disruption comes, as it will, we can absorb it, we recover, and we emerge stronger. This collective responsibility must begin with the leadership. Cybersecurity is no longer solely the responsibility of ICT departments. It is a boardroom issue, an executive leadership responsibility, and increasingly a matter of national policy. Every leader represented here has a duty to ensure that cybersecurity is firmly embedded in the governance frameworks, investment decisions, and organizational culture. As I conclude, I want to congratulate the Uganda Communications Commission and all the partners once again for convening this inaugural conference, and I wish you very fruitful deliberations, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Allow me request that we give the governor another resounding applause. So this morning when he walked in, he asked me, he said, with all these techies here, why me? I said, we needed somebody, non-techie, to talk to us. And there was no better choice than you, Dr. Michael Etigego. Because you know, MCs have a habit of the highlights. Here I'm going to say, let those who have ears do what? And I hope you heard. Allow me to invite the Executive Director, UCC, and our keynote speaker to come and receive. Like I said, having been a keynote speaker at the inaugural, you have to receive this. Let's appreciate our keynote speaker. The keynote was loaded, and like I said, I will not belabor highlight. But the beauty is if you missed something, this is live on YouTube. You can go back and replay. But it's also live on NBS. So I hope all of us who are here got clearance. Yeah, just in case they see you on TV and they're like, but you were somewhere else. I said, no, I was not. So just to make sure, double check that your clearances are done. So it's live on NBS as well as Channel 44. And as well as on the X handle. And like I said, we want to have the conversations. And the best way to do this is to now go into our first plenary. And I will invite Christine Mujimba, who is the Director of ICT Regulation, as well as Johnson Tumsime from NITAU, to come up front. And they're going to give us, we're going to look at the state of cybersecurity in Uganda, threats, readiness, and priority risks, including child online protection. They will make their introductory remarks, and after that, we'll engage in a panel conversation. You must be wondering, this is a bit strange from the national conferences. Yeah, this is 2026. So Christine, please make your way here, and shortly after, we'll invite Johnson to make his way here as well. Let's put our hands together for Christine as she makes her way.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I'll take this opportunity to share with us what UCC is seeing in terms of the state of cybersecurity in Uganda. And the presentation is going to be based on the different sources we get from a global perspective, but also as an institution. You heard from the remarks of the Executive Director that we have a SAT, a Computer Emergency Response Teams, and they are on a daily basis proactively monitoring the landscape, pulling different cyber threat intelligence information that informs what our posture is as a communication sector. And okay, so we'll start the ball rolling. Hope that slide's moving. Yeah. So as we have heard, the threat landscape is evolving faster than our preparedness, and we shall shortly see that. We see that there's a lot of attack activity that remains persistent, and this is increasingly targeting end-user devices. We'll see the numbers, but moving away from the network and going to the connections at the end-user points, targeting identity and exposed services. We have heard from the keynote address and also from the remarks of the ED that there are enabling frameworks already in the country and different CERT capabilities. I believe the financial sector has one, communication sector has one, security. There are a number of standards, laboratories that help us, but yet we'll see later that our rating as a communication sector remains in the basic. Yeah, there are different tiers, basic, medium, and high, but we are still trending at the foundational level. We also note that leadership, we have heard this and we'll keep singing this song, that it starts at the top. Cybersecurity is a leadership priority, and it has been demonstrated by us being here. So cybersecurity must be governed from the perspective of national service resilience and public trust, and I think the keynote did a good job in speaking to that. So what are the numbers telling us? We have 47.5 million active mobile subscriptions as of March 2026. So these are people who are actively on the network within 90 days. They either send a text, make a call, revenue generating, 47.5 million. In terms of mobile internet, 18.9 million. Mobile money subscriptions, this is also information that the Bank of Uganda releases, 36.7 million, and smartphones, 20.3. So this tells you the activity that is happening. Even right now, I see heads bent, typing, and generating a lot of information. This does not even count for the smart watches you're wearing, IoT devices, and all that. So all this is complicating and bringing opportunity, but at the same time, bringing in a number of issues. And we see that this infrastructure is supporting different e-government services. We have heard about the financial transaction, e-learning right now, and the like. Plus, this network is not only domiciled here. Right now, as I speak, some of you may be communicating with someone else in another part of the country. And so, as this digital access brings opportunities, we are also seeing risks from cyber incidents, fraud, and data breach. Now, sometimes when you talk about risk, we get scared. But you know, this morning, you set out to come here, and there was a risk that you could be late. Yes or no? Yeah, there was a high risk that you could be late. There would be a traffic jam. Just the knowledge of that risk, make sure that you plan, you're prepared, so that if the risk materializes, you're here on time, you don't miss the keynote address. And there is a high probability that it might. So that same thing is happening, that because of this interconnectedness, there is a greater risk of cyber incidents, fraud, and data breaches. And I think some of us have got, I'm sure, I don't know if the ED has ever been called by a fraudster telling them that I'm the ED of UCC and I'm going to switch off your phone if you do not, if you do not register it. So it boils down to that. But what are we saying? That these things do not start in this room or in your home. It starts from the global pressures that are happening. Just by the fact that there is a war currently happening that we thought should have ended by now. We know the war in the Middle East and all that. Activists like such things. Yeah, that is the opportunity for them to send attacks and all that. And while you're going about your business, before you know it, there's a threat on a government service, on a Ugandan service. Why? Because Uganda is an ally to one of the actors in the war. So this global pressure comes sometimes through such issues, geopolitics. Faster, it is automated. Even in the security side of things, AI is being used. Those of us who were following the war and the missiles that were pounding in Iran, you may have seen the display of technology. And actually, they use such circumstances to test technology. Even during games, Olympic Games, global events, that is where technology companies actually test all this. So we have that global pressure coming, and then it cascades and arrives in Uganda, where we have the digital growth, as we have seen in the numbers, and then onto the sector. We are seeing improvement in some areas, and we'll go to that. We'll see what are we doing, how ready are we, how prepared are we, how resilient are we? The governor of Bank of Uganda made an important point that it's one thing to have the laws, the frameworks, but have they been tested? For example, right now we are at the Sheraton, and maybe they ticked the boxes that we have a fire escape route. I hope you know where that is. If you don't know, look for the symbols on the door, the green symbols. But for it to be tested today is if an alarm goes off, where will we run? Yeah? So before that, everything is working okay. Don't worry, there will be no fire. Hopefully, yeah, there will be no fire. So protection. Now, the other piece that we're seeing, and this borders on trust, that as we bring all those numbers that we saw, 47.5, and even though we don't have yet the numbers to be, because these are masked, the registrations, when you register a SIM for your child, it's registered in your name. So the network operators may not be able to tell that this is a child. They are in now that trust that when our children go to online, they are not being affected by interaction and the action that we need. So globally, we see that ransomware, this is malware that may come and be implanted in our ecosystem communication networks and remains a major global threat. And this is a business, yeah? People hijack your network, they encrypt it, and they ask you to give them money in exchange. And this is often not reported because of reputational risk, but actually there are insurance companies making money in this area. Companies have had to part with money, yeah, for this. So this is one of the threats that we see globally and is reported in different reports. Telecommunications networks continue to be targeted by attackers looking to gather information or disrupt services. There's a lot of data that is packed on our telecom networks, and also when you go in the cloud, and so data is oil. There's always activity there happening. Hackers quickly exploit weaknesses that are there in internet-connected services. So if your systems are not patched, they are not up to date, just like if you use a road that has potholes and you're being trailed by a robber, they will lead you down a path. And I'm seeing someone from the police looking at me like, I hope, let me check your facts, yeah, your intelligence. But yeah, they'll lead you down a Maram Road path where, you know, there are potholes, bushes, and corner you will. So the same thing happens with these hackers. They are sniffling and scanning and saying where are the gaps, where are the weaknesses. And what we think is simple, and maybe this is speaking to the leaders, when your IT people are asking you to give them a budget to patch up and all that, it seems simplistic, and you may deprioritize that over a conference in Munyonyo on something, but while you're at the conference in Munyonyo, down goes your system. So issues like daily patches, like patching up of photos, then become important. Large-scale service disruption, attacks are becoming more common and automated, making them harder. So of course, as we digitize, automation is good. It brings efficiencies and productivities, but at the same time, fraudsters also want to make use of the same technology. Microsoft reported in terms of AI in March 2026 that there were hackers that made use of AI to send phishing, targeting phishing attempts to executives in different languages. So they just use the same AI capabilities of being able to have different languages, and they target the different CEOs. So AI is also helping criminals create more convincing scams, and you can easily be personated. How many of you have received emails saying, we do these phishing tests back at the commission, where you mimic a message from Director of Finance saying, you know, you have a salary advance in your inbox. I do not want to declare the results, yeah? But there is a high probability that you quickly click the what? The link, yeah? Because who doesn't want to receive money on any day? So social engineering and all that, they really use the day-to-day basic things that we are gullible with when they attack us. On Uganda's side, and we'll go deeper later, I see I have 4 minutes. I've looked at the clock, so let me get the slides moving. We mentioned that, Edie mentioned that we are basic. So there are different categories. Right now we sit at 585 in terms of the tools that we use. And this is not good at all. It's nothing to report, yeah? home about, but that is where we are. When you know how to pull up your socks. Those of us who are in schools where they would write on your report card, pull out your socks. This is where we have to pull up so that at least we can get to medium level. We have seen a decline in botnets, which is good. Yeah, these are networks which are used maliciously, and they are rapidly for spreading malicious activity remotely. At least there's a decline in that. But what we are seeing of negative 16, that's a decrease, 16.4 decline compared to previous years, as you can see in that graph. But on the other side, we are seeing that there is an increase in potentially exploited devices. And this is especially, like I said earlier, the endpoint and application side. So that is something that we need to pay attention to, that even as networks improve internally, on the endpoint, there is now an increase. And I guess it also speaks to what we are doing in improving our networks. I'm seeing I have little time. Credential compromise. Those are the numbers, 713,235 compromised credentials were identified in the last 12 months. Info-stealer credentials, leaked email records, high-risk personal exposed end-user devices, and so on and so forth. So you find that credentials, your credentials that enable you access your systems, these are exposed somewhere and someone can use them. And this is not very good. So we have to see internally on our networks, how are you managing your credentials and passwords? Because these are the ones that people sell, in the dark web, and before you know it, someone has had access to your network. Where we have what is called the Global Cyber Security Index Readiness. This report has been produced by the International Telecommunications Union since 2015. It's of 2024. They haven't released a new rate yet, and there are 5 tiers. Uganda right now is sitting at tier 3, with our neighbors doing slightly better than us, as you will see there. We'll see later. But where we need a lot of enhancement, you can see the scores, is in terms of our data development, capacity development there. We need a big leap to get to the 20 score. So we need to develop our capacities here, but in there lies what we are talking about, the do's and exercising, testing our own processes, because we may have invested in having capabilities, recruiting the cybersecurity experts and all that, but have you tested to ensure that you're resilient should something happen, as well as the national talent pipeline? I talked about our neighbors. They are all in tier 1. That is the highest step of the tier. Uganda is at tier 3, so we have to do a lot to ensure that we are improving the different areas, and those are areas of our legal frameworks, our organizational capabilities, and our technical measures, to mention that a few. The ED talked about the SAT, so I will not repeat that. I see I'm down to 28 seconds. But as we continue this conversation, we should always remember people, processes, technologies, and governance must all mature together. And those all pieces should work together. So even as you put the governance right, you have the technological tools. Are your processes enabling you to respond to incidents, to do the risk management? What about the people? And when I talk about people, we are not just talking about the cyber experts, but the day-to-day people who are not in the tech, the HR, the legal persons. Do they know their interactions with the systems and the impact it has on the cybersecurity posture? Okay, we identified such 5 risks that we propose to leaders to form part of the leadership agenda: endpoint and mobile compromise. So whatever is an endpoint, if you don't know and you're a leader here, you tell your tech people to show cause why they are being paid salaries. They will describe to you what the endpoints on the networks. Identity and social engineering is one of the risks. Critical service disruption, digital finance systems and ecosystem exposure. We have a a lab where we do tests on some of these apps, and we have found a number of vulnerabilities here. And there's another risk now of our future generation, child online safety, that we have to start thinking about for resilience and sustainability, because we don't want a Uganda that will only be with machines, yeah? And maybe just a few highlights. UCC did a survey around the COVID period. And at that time, and of course these numbers may have increased, 1 in 5 of the school-going children, this is ages 6 to 17, say they had seen an explicit image online. And actually, when you looked at the details of boys versus girls, boys seemed to be okay with it, yeah? Like seeing pornographic content was not really such as a threat like girls. 85.3% did not contact parents about online issues. They tended to contact each other, their peers. So even as we sit in this room and we are talking about the gadgets, the endpoints, there are people behind that, but they are children and they are not talking to us. They are asking themselves, what do we have to do about it, even when you talk about cybersecurity resilience. 76.8% of parents were not involved in their children's online activity. Maybe apart from buying the gadget, that's where we stop. So we also have to start bringing these pieces to the conversation. Those are some of the things we are seeing: cyberbullying, online grooming, harmful content, scams and privacy law, misinformation. And so child online protection should also come into the whole discussion as we talk about collaboration, resilience, and trust. And maybe when we have security by design for children, that may be even more sustainable and resilient. We have reporting channels here that you can reach us at when it comes to some of the cybersecurity threats. And the leadership ask today is continue to own material cyber risk at executive level, board level, and now we are speaking national level. So this should be a standing agenda item, yeah? I suppose when executive sits, when people sit, what is the cybersecurity? What are we being told? Are we ready? We learned from COVID the importance of resilience. Fund continuous monitoring. Cybersecurity is as important as proactiveness, continuous. We have all seen what it means when a road is left unmaintained for years and suddenly there is a wake-up call. It has gone too bad, the draining is too bad, you have to compensate more and all. So the regular consistency in doing this thing has to be done. So there should not be a year where certain things are deleted off your budgets, yeah, as executives. Enforce minimum controls and time-bound remediation, but even as we talk about enforcement, test them, see if things are working. Do drills within the institution and at national level, yeah, the point is there. Exercise, cross-sector coordination, and public communication. How do you communicate in case of an incident? And lastly, let's build a national side online protection system. This way, we'll know that we can secure a digital transformation, which depends on collaboration, resilience, and trust. Thank you.
Can we give Christine another round of applause? So we're beginning to see where we are at, and allow me welcome Afande Andrew Mubiru. Thank you for coming. Johnson will come and give us from the National IT Authority perspective. Then my brother Andrew will come and make his remarks from the security perspective from police.
Very good morning, everyone. The Governor, Bank of Uganda, our host, EDUCC, the board of management of UCC. All protocol observed. My name is Johnson Tumsime, and I'm going to be presenting on the state of the cybersecurity in Uganda from the context of NITA. Can I have the pointer? So I'll quickly run through. I see I have about 15 minutes, but on a nutshell, NITA is